Step into the world of Founders Dinner. Stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Where the essence of entrepreneurship is unraveled in its most authentic form. Stas Balanevsky serves as your guide on this journey of discovery and inspiration. In each episode, Stas brings together entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds to share their stories. It's not just about their victories, but more about the resilience and adaptability they've shown in the face of adversity. These narratives are more than just stories. They are lessons in courage, determination, and the relentless pursuit of success. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, dreaming of launching your first venture, or an established business leader seeking new perspectives, Founders Dinner is your invitation to explore the transformative power of entrepreneurship. And now, without further ado, let's welcome the host of Founders Dinner, Stas Balanevsky.
Welcome to the Founders Dinner podcast. I have with me the CEO and co-founder of OnCore Golf, Steve Coulton. Steve, cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Brought gifts and...
Strong. Little bourbon.
Love it. Brought this wonderful bourbon. And so we're just going to talk about entrepreneurship, right? You've been in Buffalo for a long, long time, and you've been an entrepreneur for a long, long time as well. So the goal of this podcast is to just share stories and talk about how nonlinear growth and success are, right? Because you didn't just decide golf ball and then people are throwing away Pro V1s and they're all buying Encores, right?
Right.
There's a bit of a journey here.
Sure.
So if you would, can you tell our 2 subscribed listeners, maybe 3 now, lay out your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
Where'd you start, where are you, and where's it headed?
We started a little over a decade ago, and you're spot on, I think. Very naive. It was our first company. Bret Blakely, my co-founder, and I definitely thought we'd be overnight successes, and certainly hasn't been the case, although we made a lot of progress. And I had played golf, grew up played at NYU. So Bret's father, Keith, who's our CEO, Keith Blakely, serial entrepreneur, an engineer working for him, had developed this new technology in a golf ball. Mm-hmm. It had to do around this concept of perimeter weighting. To make a really long story short, being a golfer, I was really excited about the technology, and the engineers in the company weren't really focused on the golf ball. They were more alternative energy and fuel cells. So the golf ball was kind of a side project. And Bret and I were really, at the time I was working at Deutsche Bank. Bret was at an ad agency, and we both kind of left those fields and were looking to do something new and different, and both had dads that were entrepreneurs and had started businesses. So we took a leap of faith and started OnCore and built the brand around that perimeter weighting technology. Mm-hmm. And have been, grinding and shining, as they like to say.
Grinding and shining, I love that.
Golf is very, symbolic of our journey, the game of golf, highs, lows, good bounces, bad bounces, right?
Yep.
Little bourbon along the way.
A little bourbon along the way. Yeah, I love what you're doing with the collaborations around town.
Yep.
I mean, you really are like a Buffalo guy. Before we started filming, we were talking about Smash Factor, which is your collaboration with Resurgence. It's a delicious beer. Now Hartman's, this OnCore. I love bourbon. This is a really nice bourbon.
Thank you.
And then, talk about your collaboration with PGA.
Sure. So locally we had been partnered with Western New York PGA Hope. So it's a program. It stands for Helping Our Patriots Everywhere. Free program for veterans. And we had gotten to know Nick Martone and Scott Smolter, two military veterans, Marine and Navy vets, and had just done a lot of work with the section, with the veterans, and they were the ones who went to national, to the PGA of America, and said, hey, you really ought to talk to OnCore. They're doing a lot of cool things here in Buffalo, helping out the vets here. And that ultimately led to this collaboration, this nice camo box with the PGA and PGA Hope, and a deal with National, which had a give back on the sale of the golf balls, and then just a partnership engagement that we were supporting National with. So And it's great because
awesome.
they've got sections all over the country, and I've gotten to meet a lot of the vets from, all different sections. In fact, in a few weeks, I'm going down to DC for their Hope Wellness Week. So they're playing golf and doing various activities. All their ambassadors from around the country are going to meet up, and we got to be a part of that. The Secretary's Cup before the championship at Oak Hill, and this previous PGA Championship in Louisville, we were part of that. So it's been a really cool partnership. Hoping to continue it next year.
It's incredible. And the sentiment that it takes a nation to heal a veteran is really cool.
That's Chris Nowak, the founder and a veteran. That's his saying, and so we were really excited to get it on the box and in his honor. So
that's amazing. So you're in big corporate, right? You're at Deutsche, so you were I'm sure a brilliant cog in a gigantic wheel.
I don't know about brilliant, but it was definitely
You don't get to Deutsche being a dummy. We all know that.
Yeah.
So what part of the bank were you in? Were you in IB?
So I was assisting traders on the commercial paper desk.
Oh, okay.
So it was a lot of grunt work, and unlike equities or bonds where the traders would trade them and the trade would essentially close within minutes or seconds, the commercial paper trading company's debt was pretty cumbersome. It was a lot of paper,
right.
So we were often dealing with trades that were, had been outstanding for years. And then we're trying to calculate the interest and figure out which counterparty owes which, and I wasn't passionate about it, and I felt like the computers and, this was pre-AI, but I felt like there's no reason why these computers aren't going to be trading better than a human sitting there clicking a mouse.
Right.
No offense to the humans.
Right, sure.
But no doubt that took a lot longer than I would have expected, and it still hasn't really fully happened yet.
No, of course not.
But
it'll get there.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe there'll be some more personal AI traders that we can tap into, right?
Hopefully.
But yeah, so it was good. It was a good experience, and met a lot of great people, and I have a bunch of buddies that are still in the finance world.
But what a crazy good skill set, right? Because now, any raise, any commercial paper that crosses your desk, right? You're not some dude that hits a golf ball, right? So
yeah,
part of the journey, it's important.
It was 2 years, so I didn't necessarily acquire a tremendous amount of wealth about iBanking, but it was a good experience. Interesting to be there around '08 and the crash and kind of see how quickly things can turn. So that was a crazy experience being on Wall Street and in the offices in Jersey City for that during the '08 crisis. But yeah, and OnCore is lucky. One of our largest shareholders is Charles Schwab.
Oh, nice.
So Charles basically pioneered, the low-cost internet trading.
That's right.
And is a big fan of the company and the ball. So everything's very interrelated, right? Finance, golf, economics, all that.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so here you are, right? Running OnCore Golf. I know you have a lot of plans in the future. What sort of non-confidential stuff can you share with us of what's coming up?
One of the projects we've been working on for about 6 years now is the Genius Ball. So that's a product that has electronics inside the ball. It's got a Bluetooth sensor, wireless recharging battery, over-the-air software updates, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer. Really, just going from 2 years ago to today, the brain inside the ball has really evolved significantly, and that's credit to Doug Dufault, Keith, our chairman, and the team that he's put around the software, the electronics, hardware people. Helm locally is a group, UX, UI firm.
Sure.
Nick Barone, big golfer, he's helped with the app for the Genius Ball. So we're hoping by the Masters of next year to have that out as a commercial product.
Wow,
and
that's
it would
amazing.
Be primarily for chipping, putting, all sorts of advanced statistics about your game, data. Eventually the goal would be to get a full course play ball where you could go out and smash it with your driver. Mm-hmm. We know with the electronics we can protect and they'll survive, but we've still got some work to do on that version, but that's the ultimate goal.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Which actually, that 6 years of development, that brings me to the real sort of purpose of the podcast is for our founders to share stories, because obviously it's not like, birdie, birdie, eagle, birdie, birdie, eagle, done, go into the 19th hole. There's stuff that goes wrong that you then sort of take as a lesson and learn from it. So I'd love for you to take one of your lessons and sort of unpack it for us.
Sure. Well, it was funny before we were getting started, you mentioned the number 59. Mm-hmm. Completely unrelated to knowing that, this was a story I was hoping I'd have a chance to tell. But one of our ambassadors is Al Geiberger, and he's famous on tour, or was on tour, for shooting the first 59. Similar to Roger Bannister when he broke the 4-minute mile,
right.
Al was the first golfer to break 60. And it took, I think, over 30 years for someone to basically break that record. Whereas with Roger Bannister, I was reading earlier, it was, I think, like 26 days. But anyhow, so long story short, with Al, he's, in his 80s, and Bret and myself were in our late 20s at the time, trying to build more of a younger brand, look, feel to the golf industry, be a little bit more, anti-elitist, go a different direction than kind of the country club, Titleist route. And I remember Bret and Keith, our CEO, was talking to Al about becoming an ambassador, and Bret and I were like, it's cool that he shot 59, but that was, so many years ago, and we're trying to portray a younger brand. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, Keith, our CEO, didn't listen to Bret and I, but the lesson being that Al ended up introducing the golf ball to Charles Schwab. They played golf in high school together at Santa Barbara. Charles really loved the Elixir golf ball. Al told us that after a round they had played together. We sent him a dozen, Elixirs and a letter. I think they had the Schwab logo on. We had done that. Said we were, thrilled that he enjoyed the product. And that led to a significant investment and multiple follow-ons from Charles. And we probably wouldn't be here without his support or investment.
It's amazing.
So the lesson for us was, like, don't judge a book by its cover. And, just because someone doesn't fit the mold that you think your brand or your company should have doesn't necessarily mean they can't be very helpful to your success. And so thank God for Keith. And I saw one of your follow-up questions was like, how did you apply that? And we had gotten an email about 4 or 5 years ago from Josh Allen's agent. And similar at the time, he wasn't under contract. He could have been gone the following year. He didn't really have his star power or his rise, but
right.
Kind of learning that, even though he's not necessarily on the tour, it would be a good person to get involved. And it turned out that he's been huge help and success to us.
Yeah.
And obviously become a great personality, and just great ambassador for us. But
he seems like a stellar individual.
He is. He's a funny guy. He's got he reels off movie quotes. Like, I mean, it's amazing, like his memory. And to see his game, like, he's gotten super good at golf over the years. He joined Craig Byrne. He's played in the match in front of millions of people on TV.
Right.
Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So and it's funny to hear, like, these football stars talk about feeling more pressure golfing than playing football in front of like 70,000 people.
Well, of course, because they know how to play golf. Or sorry, they know how to play football.
But he's just been great. And so there's a ton of challenges that I think, another example was we tried early on doing things the way Titleist, Callaway, TaylorMade did with pro shops and building a national sales force, but we really didn't have the brand awareness to do that.
Right. So you're more direct to consumer?
We kind of put the cart ahead of the horse, but it took us a few years to learn that wasn't the right path for us. And now that we're D2C focused, it's been a lot better. We still have a lot to learn, and we still want to bring more experts in on that space that have really built, big D2C companies.
It's interesting.
But it's been a good business model switch for us.
For sure. A friend of mine is acquainted with someone at a sunglass company that is D2C because they looked at the Luxottica monopoly.
Yep.
Right?
Ray-Ban or...
Yeah, it's Ray-Ban, it's Oakley, it's 100 different brands. Most of the really nice, sort of your designer brands, they're all made by Luxottica. And then Luxottica owns Sunglass Hut.
Okay.
So, I mean, as a business, it's brilliant, right? Multiple fighter brands, vertically integrated. They don't care if you buy the this or the that because it doesn't matter. It's still, at the end of the day, theirs.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember there's a great Simpsons cartoon where they had like 3 different bright tanks of like Duff Light, Duff Dark, and Duff Ice? And it was one pipe coming in that just split into 3 different, it was the same stuff, they just branded it differently. So these guys, from what I understand, just kind of took a left turn and said, we're gonna cut this out, we're gonna cut that out, we're gonna cut everything out, and we're gonna take all of that money that would have gone to that whole stack, we're gonna put it into marketing, and away they go.
Yeah, smart.
And risky, because no one's stocking anything, right? People are buying 1, 2, 10, not, I'll take 500 pair or 1,000 pair.
Yeah, and unless you've got someone walking into the, Sunglass Hut and everything, asking for that brand, it's going to be hard for them to expect, those players to want to introduce them and create a competitor, and we found that with the pro shops, a lot of them were exclusive to other brands.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
They'd give the pro retirement benefits or rental club sets or free range balls, things like that made it really hard for us to even enter that channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've done a good job locally getting into the shops and working with the pros here, but it's a challenge nationally for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So where's the future? I mean, obviously the Genius Ball that's amazing. I'm sure there's lots of cool patents that are happening around that.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of patents on that. We still, the Vero and the Elixir and the Avant are what we would say more traditional compared to the Genius Ball, golf balls, even though they're very high tech. We've got a whole new generation of those coming out next year.
Wow.
We want to build up more accessories, the golf bag, the gloves, the polos, all of that. So yeah, it should be a big year. Still working on some capital raise and things like that to make sure we've got all the resources to pull all these projects off, but confident we can do it.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. And, I think the lesson to entrepreneurs is, don't just judge a book by its cover. Don't think it's not a fit until you know it's not a fit. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say there's not a playbook, but there's EOS and there's STAS.
Right. That's not the playbook.
But, yeah, obviously when you're building something new or trying to compete, for the Genius Ball, there really isn't an example of a product like that. Mm-hmm. There's companies trying to do it, but yeah, sometimes it's trial and error. Obviously, to the extent you can learn without an expensive, mistake, and learn fast. It's great. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and you learn slower than you want, and you spend more than you want, making those mistakes. But yeah, I guess open-mindedness, right? Just being open to we had some experts who had been with bigger companies early on, and they wanted us to do things the way the bigger companies did, and it didn't work for us.
Right.
And not to say every blue ocean, every wild thing we've tried that's non-traditional has worked either. It's probably somewhere a blend of between the two, and you just keep trying till you find something that works.
So when you're building a pro forma on a new product, are you budgeting for mistakes?
If we have a budget, yeah. I think we've made enough mistakes over the last decade to know that things are going to take longer and require more money than we initially thought. So I think there's certainly that's built in there. Doesn't mean we get it right or that we've always, learned the lesson we should, but we try.
Yeah.
So, with the golf balls, we've gotten into a pretty good rhythm. The next generation of the X1 and X2, we've learned like the USGA submission process. The engineers have kind of figured out, the product life cycle and all that. It's less kind of make it up, and there's more, planning and kind of a little bit more, okay, we kind of know what's going to sell, the units and everything like that.
That's what maturity looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sure you remember the first, dozen golf balls that you sold to someone that you didn't recognize their name.
Yeah. And the first 500 dozen balls we made, probably about half of them we had to throw out.
Oh.
So.
Just QC issues?
Yeah. It was, and that's about 10 years ago. And we've worked, we found new partners that have, some of the largest in the world, that have helped make our designs and helped our engineers make our golf balls better. But it didn't happen overnight. And I think we've made over 10 million balls, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
And every couple of years with new launches, they do get better and better. Even though we're really regulated in terms of the USGA, weight, symmetry, distance, the engineers are brilliant. They find ways to make the product even better.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So another 600 or 700 years and the ball might become good enough for me to try to play golf.
We got to tee it up.
We do. I think that'd be super fun. Well, this has been awesome, man. Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for the tips and tricks, and because obviously you're building this iconic brand, and from the outside, looking at your building out my window with the huge logo, it's like, yeah, these guys are hugely successful. They've got it. They know what they're doing every time, and like every entrepreneur, it's like most of the time, yes, sometimes not at all.
Right. And fortunately, it's a good business for you, right? And everything. I appreciate all the support over the years.
Oh, for sure.
The books and really the EOS system, and I know you'll be there as a resource and mentor and sounding board for personal my journey and OnCore's journey, and of course the listeners, and just the in terms of what you do for our community, bringing entrepreneurs together, bringing corporate resources and people. Just in a lot of ways, I feel like it's similar to like these collaborations, right? You don't know what's going to happen, but you have a hunch something good's going to happen, and there'll be a lot of people that'll be haters on the sideline and saying, that's stupid, why are you doing that, why are you doing these dinners, this podcast, but good things happen from them, right?
Great things happen.
You can't always predict it.
No, we're sitting here drinking bourbon on an afternoon in Buffalo when it's sunny out. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And that was the whole genesis of this. When we were doing the title work for the podcast, I said, so I've got a founders dinner coming up, and they're like, well, that should be the name of the thing.
Yep.
Because you actually do founders dinners? I'm like, yeah, we just get like 10, 12 founders around a table and drink a bunch of wine and have a lot of laughs.
Yep.
So, our people.
Yep. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing. And I guess with that, this concludes this week's episode of the Founders Dinner.
Right. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Founders Dinner. Stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Once again, we've journeyed through the inspiring and challenging world of entrepreneurship with Stas Balanevsky, uncovering stories that illuminate the resilience and adaptability at the heart of success. Each narrative shared today is a testament to the unyielding spirit of our entrepreneurial guests, providing lessons in courage and determination. We hope these stories have not only entertained, but also inspired you. Whether you're taking the first steps in your entrepreneurial journey or are a seasoned leader in the business world, Founders Dinner is more than just a podcast. It's a community of learning, inspiration, and connection. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful episodes and join our vibrant LinkedIn community to continue the conversation, share experiences, and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Until next time, keep embracing the entrepreneurial journey. This is Stas Balanevsky, thanking you for being a part of the Founders Dinner family. See you at the next dinner.